When Mr. Wang arrived at Tesla's office, he sat in the reception room waiting for Tesla to finish talking with another visitor. The door into Tesla's office stood open, and his conversation could be heard clearly in both rooms. Tesla was speaking to his visitor about the plane he had designed in 1917 and given to the United States government to assist in World War I. The government officials at that time were merely amused when they looked at the design and promptly buried it in their files. The design showed a circular craft which looks very much like the flying saucers observed in the skies today. The craft carried no power plant, but was to be operated from a central power station on the ground, which would broadcast a beam of energy that could be picked up at any distance around the Earth by suitable receiving devices. Tesla told his visitor that an airplane of this type in the skies over Australia, for example, would be able to fly with power drawn from a generating projecting plant in America. At this point, the visitor left, and Mr. Ragg then entered into a long discussion with Tesla on various subjects, including his aeronautic devices. Tesla was animated by Ragg's theories, which he heartily approved. Suddenly Tesla became silent and appeared to be looking into space directly over Ragg's head with a fixed gaze. Then his eyes filled with tears which streamed freely down his face, and he said, "They'll steal it. They'll steal it." Well, the end of this story is that they stole it, just as Tesla predicted, and Ragg, to this day, wonders at Tesla's great gift of prophecy. The two men never met again, and Ragg often speculated on what had happened to the aircraft design which Tesla had described to the other visitor. When Mr. Ragg chatted with the author recently, we were able to bring him up to date on the plane which was known in 1917 as the Tesla Spear. After the government of Yugoslavia established the Tesla Research Institute at Belgrade during the 30s, the design for the Tesla Spear was turned over to the Institute library, together with all other information which Tesla had released. After Tito arose to power, the papers of the Institute were available to Soviet scientists. By 1957, the Russians had discovered the secret of the Tesla Spear and had placed the plane in production. It is still probably the most advanced aircraft in the skies today, although the United States had the design in its possession for 40 years and had not bothered to develop it. The Russians have given Tesla full credit for the design. The Tesla Spear, as has been said, is earthbound. It is highly maneuverable and can fly at tremendous speeds, drawing power beamed to it from a single power plant located on the ground. However, Otis T. Carr now has his new circular foil aircraft design ready for production, and undoubtedly it will supplant all present planes, including the Tesla Spear. Carr's craft is not earthbound because it draws fuel directly from the atmosphere in the form of electrical charges. The Tesla Spear, if seen during daylight hours, can easily be mistaken for a flying saucer, but the Carr craft glows at night and actually is a flying saucer, although designed on this planet. Although Tesla had announced his own prophecy about his lifespan being reduced from 150 to 130 years, the very political situation which he had envisioned at the time of Prohibition turned out to be even worse than he had anticipated. Tesla was fully conscious that he alone was responsible for the power age which had made World War I possible. No Earthman would have been able to invent alternating current. Tesla was brought to the Earth to rescue the electrical age from the limitations of direct current and to set power geographically free in order to prepare the people of the planet for the space age. Without alternating current, a vast global war, even on the relatively small scale of World War I, would not have been possible. Tesla accepted full responsibility for his inventions, however, and knowing that World War II was just over the horizon, he perfected and offered to the world in 1935 an anti-war machine. This mechanism, electrical in operation, is capable of setting up an invisible and impenetrable curtain of polarized light, which can be directed along national borders, thus making a nation safe within its own boundaries. Tesla offered this protection to the governments of the United States and Great Britain. The offer was flatly rejected. Tesla's vision of the future had been perfectly clear. He knew that the dark forces were driving into the very heart of American civilization, and that a world bloodbath had been scheduled. He knew that it had been planned as a preliminary effort to set up a world dictatorship under a leader of the dark forces. The dark forces were well aware that Ascended Master Saint Germain was breathing down their necks, so close was his pursuit. They also knew that the American nation was of vital importance in the Aquarian Age, and that many of Saint Germain's most steward disciples were Americans. Under a world dictatorship, these disciples could be so hampered in their efforts that little could be accomplished for the forces of light. Further, under a world dictatorship, America would be so merged with all other nations that it might even cease to exist as a separate entity. Tesla knew all this, and he knew that his alternating current had made it possible by making the Power Age possible. But he knew, too, that the forces of light would do whatever could be done for the American people, short of interfering with their own free will. That they could not do. They could not exert any pressure to get newspapers, magazines, or radio to place the issue of Tesla's anti-war machine before the people. The government, having already rejected it, would naturally not make it a public issue. The anti-war machine was described in many newspapers and magazine articles back in 1935 and the years that followed, but at no time were the people told that the Tesla invention was absolutely necessary to protect this nation against a world war, which was even then in the making. Those in high places in many nations were fully aware of this fact, but it was carefully concealed from the public. So the days passed with complacency on all sides. People everywhere were talking about the Depression. Little did they know that the Depression had been carefully staged so as to give them something to talk about, something to distract their attention from the fact that they were about to be sold down the river. Finally, after years on the dole and years on various boondoggling jobs, the American people were in a mood for war. They were in a mood for anything that would open up factories and get Tesla's alternating current humming, although they were not even aware that he existed or that his invention had supplied the power they were so eager to use. But they wanted jobs, 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 anything to make some real money for a change. Meanwhile, the forces of darkness were driving deeper and even deeper into the heart of the nation. The people were completely in their grip. Disciples who had been in incarnation back in 1776 and remembering Valley Forge could hardly believe their eyes and ears. The seventh ray was growing stronger and the sixth ray power was waning, but the Aquarian Age was not yet in full control. Ascended Master Saint Germain, Kohan of the seventh ray, took up his work, however, and his disciples in the United States struggled valiantly to carry out his instructions. While the governments were busy turning down Tesla's offer of an anti-war machine, a polarized light mechanism that would protect the nation's boundaries, Saint Germain's disciples themselves proceeded to mentally qualify energy and with it build a wall of light around North America. They later extended it around Central and South America. It stands today more firm than ever before, about 3 miles out from the mainland. While it is invisible to the majority of people, it is something seen by travelers at sea who are mystified by it, and who attribute it to all sorts of things such as atmospheric disturbances. There is nothing unusual about it, however, because similar walls built by adepts have been used down through countless ages to protect certain sacred spots on the earth, such as the Wesak Valley in the Himalayas.